are back. Right now, we have Danny Silvers, who is the CEO of Lantana Games, with his topic From Weapon Skins to Workshops, the business of user generated content. Take it away, Danny.
Thanks so much, Ash. Hi. So, as mentioned, I'm Danny Silvers from Lantana Games. This is From Weapon Skins to Workshops. And yeah, so if you're into any kind of user generated content from level editors to social media and modding, this is the talk for you. So, a little bit about me. So I've been a game developer for going on 14 years now, at least professionally, but 30 some years casually. Um, Most recent game is Mondrian Plastic Reality, which just received its latest update last week. It's the winner of the Accessibility and Inclusion Award at Boston Fig Fest 2022. I am a graduate of the Savannah College of Art and Design with a BFA in Interactive Design and Game Development. And otherwise, I'm an artist, designer, writer, public speaker, game streamer, entrepreneur, uncle to two adorable blonsters, and most importantly, a gamer, which I hope like all of us here. So, for those who may not be familiar, what is user generated content? Well, that or UGC refers to player made creations. So that's anything basically made inside your game or related to your game that players make. So this content is usually distributed via physical or digital means, obviously, but usually digital, and easily added to an associated game via in-game menus or the operating system itself. Um, we have new types of UGC emerging practically daily thanks to new games, new platforms, new technologies like AI and blockchain disrupting the market. And the general consensus in the industry has always been that implementing UGC in some manner can greatly extend your game's shelf life. So we talk a lot about how on at launch, you basically have 72 hours for your game to make money, and then it just dies out. Um, the exception to that is that if your players have something they can make and share in or from your game, and that's what we're going to dive into today. So, a way to summarize timeline of UGC games. So, in the 1980s, the first game that was generally considered to include a level editor was Lode Runner in 1983, and then followed by like Boulder Dash Construction Kit in 86. Obviously, in the 90s, you had games like Doom that to this day are still being modded and ported to every imaginable platform. Games like Jazz Jackrabbit 2 that you may not have ever heard of, but was an epic game long before Fortnite. Elder Scrolls 3, Morrowind, again, big modding scene, still popular to this day. Little Big Planet brought UGC to consoles in the first place. 2010's Portal 2 was the first game in the trial run for Steam Workshop. Infamous Second Son is considered to be the first game that included an official photo mode. And Super Mario Maker in 2015 obviously just like exploded UGC onto Nintendo platforms. So, what are the types of UGC tools that I'm going to be covering today? Well, these include editors. So, for the sake of this talk, that's going to mean any tool set included with a game used for creating in-game challenges or stories. So, the idea is that these use code that is already included with the game and not anything that players code themselves. Compare that to a mod kit, where this is essentially a stripped down version of the engine of the game. And so players can go in and actually code new functions for the game itself or completely change the game from the ground up into something new. And a photo mode is a more recent invention. So this is, you basically take some kind of in-game camera to capture screenshots and video, so that players can share these on their social media accounts. And we're going to talk a lot about cross promotion and how you can use a photo mode to grow your community and grow your game. So what are the types of UGC that we'll be covering? Well, I like to call them the 4 C's. There are cosmetic, challenge, community, and conversion. Cosmetic UGC. This is probably the most familiar to everybody in the game industry. This is visual only content applied to pre-existing items or the game itself. So this usually includes objects, textures, and effects. So some examples might include item skins. So if you look at, say, Team Fortress 2, you supply the objects and then creators will handle the rest. Ethically speaking, item skins should be disadvantageous to players, making them more visible, blocking their sight, etc. I always think back to the first PAX East that I showed a game at. But our booth was right across from the League of Legends booth, so we had cosplayers with gigantic wings blocking view of our booth the whole time. Think like that. That's what you're thinking of with item skins. So they get in the player's way, but they make them look cool. Shader packs and texture packs. Players will go out of their way to reshade your game a la Minecraft. So these may like drastically improve the lighting by adding in, say, ray tracing effects, or new colored lights or improved shadows, that kind of thing. Or they may be something as simple as an HD texture pack where all the textures in the game are blown up to 2 or 4 times their original size. And tile sets are similar to texture packs, but for 2D games to, say, style a level completely differently than what comes with the game. Next up is challenge content. So this is playable content like somebody might create in a level editor or even a mod kit. This includes levels, campaigns, and new game modes. These generally require a built-in or packaged-in game editor or mod kit. Whatever you've built for the game, you can let players build too. So the nice thing too about a level editor is that if you work on one, that will greatly improve the development speed after it's done. So you can use it as well to build your game. You don't just have to build it for your community. It works in tandem. So honestly, this is the most traditional form of UGC when people think of games. So if your game is a success, challenge content will keep it alive for years and possibly forever. I mentioned a little bit earlier, Lode Runner in 83, there's still people making levels for that game. Its sequel, The Legend Returns, is actually the game that got me started on level editing back in the DOS days. So, hey, and I'm still making levels for that. I'm on Windows 10 now. Community, social content. So this includes anything like screenshots, photos, videos, and live streams. Also included with this, interestingly enough, is stuff made outside of the game, like fan arts, cosplays, wikis, tutorials, and walkthroughs. I consider that all like in the genre of community content. And the nice thing is these can also be conveniently tied into challenge content. So, say a player makes a custom level, they can then share it with your influencers who can then play the content and keep promoting your game. And don't neglect short form video content and vertical video, especially. I know most of us work in widescreen. There are some ways to get that looking a little bit nicer. So if you can, say like make a video overlay for your game that works in a vertical format, but keeps creators on brand with your game, that's going to go a long way. And then that ties into encouraging community growth with things like fan kits with desktop and phone backgrounds, profile pictures, social banners, logos, stream and video overlays, etc. And if you can do it, invest in a partner program. And we're going to dive a little bit deeper into partner programs in a minute or two. But basically, these are just like ways to reward your players for creating community content. And then we have conversion content, which is heavy modding. So for instance, the picture on this frame is a Doom mod that turns the game into the classic Apogee game Hocus Pocus. Very, very cool mod. Check it out if you haven't yet. Players transform your game into something else entirely with this. So if you look at total conversion mods like FiveM, the company that created it was recently purchased by Rockstar, and that can lead to massive sub communities and bring more eyes to your game every single day. Players are installing dozens to hundreds of mods at once, usually. Like if you look at City Skylines, for instance, there's no end to the mods that come out on the workshop for that game. So if you do plan to support the conversion experience, streamline it as best as you can. Do whatever you can whenever you update the game to not break every single mod in existence. And just like stay in touch with your community and kind of cater to their needs, whenever and however you can. But if you do plan to support the mod community like that, this opens up your game just as an incredible creative platform. All right, so now the business stuff. How do you monetize your UGC? Well, the first rule is that your creators come first. I mean, obviously, you've sold your game, you make money on that, then the focus is your creators. So how can you go about doing this? Well, the first and most obvious form is microtransactions. And for the sake of this talk, I'm going to be referring to small US dollar transactions as microtransactions. These are good for items, subscriptions, etc. Let creators charge a little bit for their creations, $1, $2, maybe $5 max. You keep a percentage. Anything south of 50% is fine. So, for instance, on Fortnite UEFN creations, Epic Games keeps 40% and the creators keep 60%. And nobody's complained about that. That's perfectly fair. Keep payout minimums in mind. So, if you're worried about like bank fees, transaction fees, PayPal fees, those kinds of things, maybe you tell creators, hey, you have to make $100 before we'll pay you out. You can make your own stores, or you can use a third-party tool like Steam. The Steam inventory system actually lets creators charge for their items as well, so you can look into that. You can have creators accept donations. So all items are free, but players can optionally donate to support developers. I would say that the chances of donations on UGC are pretty slim, unless there are bonuses for donating. Like you could do it kind of Patreon style, where maybe you let users upload making of videos or behind the scenes blog or anything like that. Creators for donations should keep the vast majority of donations. So we're talking you keep well below 50%, even below 20%. I mean, we're talking you only keep 10% to cover the transaction fees. You have to let the creators keep the money that's being donated to them. And then digital currency. So if your game has a premium currency, you can use it to support creators as well. So the idea is players would buy your currency, and then on top of spending it on the content that you sell or the items or the cosmetics, players can also spend it on player-created items and cosmetics and such. Creators, again, can keep anywhere north of 50%. You keep anywhere south of that. And then this honestly does work in both microtransaction and donation formats. So, say players have leftover, blue coins or whatever you call your currency, and they can't exactly afford anything, they can then donate their leftovers to their favorite creators. So that covers the monetization, but now we're going to talk about growth and how you can grow your game and your creation platforms by helping to highlight your community. So the first way you can do this and how you can share content, or how players can share content, is through Steam Workshop. So if you have a game on PC, particularly on Steam, Steam Workshop is really the go-to place for all that content to get shared. So some pros of this are it's immediately included with the Steamworks API. So if you've got leaderboards, if you've got achievements, you have access to Workshop. It includes both ready-to-use content and curated item selection. So the difference between this is ready-to-use content is just the moment players upload, it's available for everybody to get, versus curated item selection, you would take a look at it before it's made live. It does include microtransactions, so players can buy or donate to items up there. And it does include its own browser, so you don't necessarily have to build anything into your game. You can just use the Steam overlay to let players browse content. Some cons of it, that there haven't been any updates in ages. Not that I know off the top of my head, like what some dream features of Steam Workshop would be that don't exist. But it's getting a little old. Thumbnails are generally terrible because most games don't have a way to make thumbnails. So you end up with a lot of MS Paint kind of stuff up there. It was an afterthought on Steam Deck, so it's not actually included on the device. It has to access the web browser to open it up, which is a little weird. It can't be accessed in demos, so this is just sort of a personal discovery that if you have Steam Workshop included with your game demo, when somebody uploads from it, it'll only go to their profile. It will not go to the public workshop. So that's just something you have to keep in mind. And it is proprietary. There's no open platform, multi-platform, or open API access. So you cannot access it from, say, a PC build outside of Steam or from consoles or anywhere else. It's Steam only. Compared to that, you have websites like mod.io and CurseForge. These are much more open platforms for sharing UGC. So the pros is they're free. They include APIs and SDKs for all developers. And even then, it's kind of optional. So if you're set up on the websites, you can basically just make a guide to help players get their stuff uploaded just from the website. A very positive reputation for both platforms. They do have their bugs here and there, but they're always being ironed out. Convenient UGC storage for all devs. I haven't really seen anything about like maximum file space that they allow, so your players can pretty much go nuts. And it's open access for all platforms, so if the platform allows it, then uploads are good. I know, for instance, that mod.io has deals worked out with Microsoft for Xbox. It's probably on a case-by-case basis for PlayStation and Nintendo, unless they've worked it out with them as well. But you're going to have an easier time basically getting your stuff up onto consoles with one of these guys on your back end than with only Steam Workshop on your back end. Again, so this may be considered a con, it may be considered a pro, but they're web browser based unless you implement their individual API or SDK into your game. They're a little bit more work to implement than Steam Workshop then, because they're not conveniently tied into an API you're already using. As mentioned, access on a platform that you have your game on might not be approved. And there are some bugs. I have seen players complaining that they try to upload an item and the game crashes because of the particular API. I don't know if that's the API's fault or the developer's fault. Could be anywhere, but all that will get ironed out with time. And as I mentioned, you can always just put up a guide to help players put their items up via web browser. Social media, open community engagement. Each social platform, of course, requires its own strategy to play to its strengths. They're all good for cosmetic and community. Maybe some challenge in conversion UGC, depending on the particular creator. Pros is they are necessary for community growth if you can afford it. You'll get a little bit out of it even if you can't and you just have to work for free. There's definitely ways to strategize around that, but lately it's getting to the point where all the platforms are pretty much pay to play. They are very visual, so they're great for screenshots and video and live streams. And they are a chance for players to add their own individual voice to your game, which is pretty cool. It's pretty nice to see player reactions and such. Obviously, for cons, social media is very, very time consuming. If game development is a job and marketing is a job, marketing on social media is also its own job. Social media is very noisy. There's nothing but competition up there, and you're not just competing against other game developers, but against every other topic imaginable. Links to big stores like Steam are often suppressed. So you might be like, hey, my game's launched, go check it out on Steam, #indie-games, and then only 3 people see it. So you have to be a little bit strategic about what links you put up on social media and expect people to click. Widescreen games and vertical video don't cooperate, but there are tutorials for getting the to look better for creators. And like I said, if you can create some kind of overlay that ties into your game, creators can use that overlay to add your game's branding to their videos. So UGC as a marketing tactic, because this is a very, very interesting topic and it does not stop with social media. So first of all, cross-promotion is the big, big thing when it comes to UGC. You want to develop methods for highlighting creators and their creations. For instance, your game might have its own social account. You would also want to look into having a dedicated UGC social account as well. And then that way you have somewhere to share all these dedicated user creations and only that, and keep that on brand for that. And then obviously repost from the main account for the extra special stuff. But you can even say automate the UGC account, and just anytime, say, something new goes up on Steam Workshop, you can just bounce that to a tweet, for instance. Sorry, a post. We're on X now, not Twitter. Weekly videos highlighting standout work and interviewing the community. Like all this content that's going up for your UGC is just more video opportunities, more podcast opportunities, live streams, etc. And it's really, really short, quick, and easy content for you to be able to get online. Obviously, credit creators and mention their accounts. Your goal here is to help them build their communities, which in turn will help build yours, because any random discovery that they gets new eyes onto your game as well. Definitely live stream some of the latest creations, particularly if you have an active community. Try to dedicate 1 day a week to all the new stuff that is the best for being covered. And create other opportunities for your community, like event invitations, gallery openings, dedicated conferences, even just online conferences like this, or metaverse. You don't have to do like a QuakeCon. Obviously you're indie, you're not going to be able to afford that. But there are platforms out there, like even say VR chat, where you could get things together and invite people in, or even Fortnite. You can use other games to promote your game and your UGC community. And honestly, if you get banned for doing that, That's just another marketing opportunity. Creator programs. So this is going back to what I was talking about earlier. This is a way to incentivize UGC creation with an exclusive program for the best creators. So particularly for like Twitch, YouTube, Facebook, and Kick streamers, you can offer up exclusive cosmetics and merchandise, VIP support, have an individual contact at your studio, like they can have that person's email address to be able to get in touch with them if they ever have any problems or run into any bugs, etc. Give them access to a small amount of free monthly microtransactions, special roles on Discord, etc. You'll want to highlight these individual creators on your website, in your newsletter, give them time to shine, come up with some interview questions for them, let the community get to know them, and again, get eyes on what they're doing. Mix that with a little bit of SEO and everything just bounces around like crazy. These programs are usually best for streamers and like video content creators, but the same methods can be applied to all forms of UGC, whether it's, like really good level editors or mod teams, whatever you've got going on in your game, highlight them. The best part about UGC, though, is that your marketing is pre-made for you. Every new piece of UGC is part of or is an entire marketing cycle. So small works can easily be added into montages or highlight reels. More impressive works can be shared with influencers to keep the content cycle flowing just every single day. You'll want to bring UGC to events like PAX and GDC, highlight what your community is up to. UGC is also great content for newsletters and blog posts. Just keep the content rolling. And always do what you can to keep the best new items surfaced to the top. Let downvoted items sink. Basically let the community handle that, and your job in moderation is going to be greatly lessened in the process. So then the big question is, which type of UGC is right for your game, and how do you budget for it? So level editors, obviously, as mentioned, these are tool sets for creating in-game challenge content. I consider this sort of low-level modding. It's an opportunity for community building through social media and fan sites even. So, you want to have like Steam Workshop or mod.io available for players as official platforms. But if players want to open up their own community sites to share content, let them. And so I would say that a level editor is probably going to be about a quarter of your budget. But the nice thing about them is, as I mentioned, they'll benefit your team and your community. Because once your level editor is online, then your team can use it to build the game. And then they'll offer continuous feedback on what they need out of it. And then at launch, your community will reap the rewards of those additions and fixes and such. Custom items. So similar to level editors, you would want to let users create, distribute, or even sell their own in-game cosmetics. Usually this is done with an external editor of some sort, like Blender and Photoshop. And then that's all packaged together and uploaded into the game as a new item. These can be big open ecosystems. They can be democratized, as in you let the community curate what's going on, or you curate it yourself. I would fathom to say this is probably going to end up being around 10% of your development costs, just being able to make sure that, specific file types and objects and UV maps and everything can come into your game without too much issue. Photo mode. So yeah, I love these. These are included tool sets for creating screenshots and videos. These make for instant social content. They're great for Instagram and TikTok in particular. In-world settings such as time of day and weather, cloud, wind, particles, etc. Or if you are in a 2D game, you might think about adding in some like sort of basic Instagram filters or hue, saturation, brightness settings, or really just anything sort of basic graphic design Photoshoppy. And yes, really just play to what the game is. So for instance, in Mondrian Plastic Reality, our photo mode is more of a graphics editor. So from the level editor, you can open up into photo mode to be able to create your Steam Workshop thumbnail. So you can like scroll through the background images, you can adjust the color settings, you can even turn on corner crop marks so that if players want to like print their creation, they can do that as well. So like it's a photo mode, but it's really more of a graphic design mode, but it's the same kind of idea. So I would say for these, you're looking at budgeting about 15% of your development costs. And much like with level editors being great for making your own in-game content, photo modes are great for even making your own screenshots, making your own videos. I mean, you're going to need them for your trailers, so definitely keep them in mind. On the mod kit, so these are tool sets for modifying every aspect of a game, from the code all the way up to the content. These are generally considered the riskiest form of UGC because there's absolutely no security in them. Basically, whatever players want to code in there, you're going to let them code. Opens up the most opportunities for growth on all sides of a project. So, we're talking improved voiceover, we're talking improved graphics, we're talking new content, new stories, new everything. We're talking roleplay servers. I mean, the sky's the limit with a mod kit. But these will basically extend the shelf life of a game by decades. But the budget is infinite. So essentially, you are sharing your game engine with the world. So get ready for work. So for proof of all this, we're going to do a very, very brief case study on Grand Theft Auto 5 because this game, old as it is, includes every single form of UGC that I've mentioned in this talk. So for instance, you've got the Rockstar editor. This is the game's photo mode for video recordings and static screenshots. You've got creator mode, which is the level editor that lets players create races and deathmatch maps. As mentioned, Rockstar recently bought FiveM, which is the community mod kit for GTA 5, which has 6,500 daily active users and over 3 million downloads, according to MMOstats.com. And you want to talk about size of community? I mean, this game is 10 years old, over 185 million units across 3 console generations. I mean, this came out on the 360 PS3, and they just released a new version on Series X and PS5. So it's made $8 billion worldwide. And honestly, I don't think it would have made that much without the commitment to UGC that Rockstar's put into it. And if that doesn't convince you, over 26 million hours of GTA 5 were watched on Twitch last week. Okay, that game's going nowhere, and UGC is to thank for it. So unfortunately, we cannot talk about UGC without talking about moderation. This question always comes up, how do you protect your community with UGC? Well, there's a couple old sayings. There's two versions of one saying, and they both start with the sentence, if you give them tools. So for instance, Steve Jobs said, technology is nothing. What's important is that you have faith in people, that they're basically good and smart, and if you give them tools, they'll do wonderful things with them. I like that. It's very optimistic. It's a nice view of the world. Game developers, on the other hand, know that if you give them tools, they will make dicks. So it's important to understand your audience. Gamers are brilliant, creative, intelligent problem solvers, first and foremost. Keep in mind that they have a childlike sense of humor, but that comes from a childlike wonder. Now, honestly, only a small percentage of UGC is made maliciously, anything that would generally be considered moderatable is usually just made for giggles. So have clear goals in mind for moderation, what is and isn't allowed, particularly the lengths you and your team will go to daily to hunt down TOS violations. And remember that your target audience may not end up being your actual audience. And you should be ready to pivot your policies, especially in terms of UGC. So really, your game may end up, especially for UGC, speaking more to a crowd that you weren't intending. And you really should just be ready to roll with that, because a dollar is a dollar, and who are you to turn away a dollar? So first, clarify your content guidelines, what is and is not allowed. There are two ways to do this. There's the hands-off approach, where you say, our guidelines are the same as Steam Workshop's. Don't break theirs, and we won't break your links. And then there's the hands-on approach, where you can get really censorious and say, we're not going to have any X, Y, or Z in our Steam Workshop, and we mean it. So honestly, hands-off will lead to the fastest growth with the least moderation, but there may be some questionable items up there. Let the players downvote them into oblivion. Don't go out of your way to be like, I don't like this, so I don't want it being shown. Just take a deep breath and let the community decide. Hands-on, though, will keep you and your moderators very busy for a very long time, especially if you have a very popular game. So managing moderation, and this is the most important part. Content moderation, honestly, is an extra responsibility for your community managers. So normally your CMs are going to be scouring your forums and your Discord and whatnot. And now they're also suddenly going to have to keep an eye on UGC that potentially needs to be flagged, but honestly also promoted across your marketing channels. So you'll want to have some clear avenues available for your players to get in touch with moderators for any issues with UGC in particular. They can just as easily get brigaded as games themselves can. So you want to make sure that your community feels safe publishing stuff onto your Steam Workshop or mod.io or onto your own website, and that they don't feel like the moment they do that, they're going to be attacked by the community. Minimum number of reports on a UGC item should kind of go hand in hand with the target audience. So I would say the lower the ESRB rating, the fewer reports before moderation kicks in. But like I mentioned a couple minutes ago, if you find your target audience doesn't match your actual audience, this is one of the things that you can scale up with that. If you find that you've ended up hitting more of a teen audience than a kid's audience, maybe you want 50 flags instead of 10 flags, that kind of thing. Control your budget. So, you know, with the level editor taking like a quarter of your budget, or a mod kit taking an infinite amount, any tools you create to assist in moderation or censorship will only become obsolete as your community stays one step ahead. So for instance, if you look at this frame, this has a screenshot from LEGO Universe, which infamously shut down because they kept having to make new tools to try and track down phallic shapes made with their tool sets. And the community just kept coming up with new ways of having a giggle, and it ended up bankrupting the studio. So you can take your moderation too far. My advice to developers is to rely on and reward good actors in your community, rather than focusing on punishing the bad actors so much. Make it easy for your community to feel welcome and rewarded for making good content. So you've got things like Discord roles, you've got exclusive cosmetics. You might even pay them if you can afford it, or, you know, send them a Domino's gift card or whatever, you know, and any kind of goodies that you can come up with, definitely send it their way. Automated moderation makes mistakes and can look lazy depending on your scale. So definitely only use it when your game gets inundated with UGC, but keep it personal and personable. And limit your team based on the activity on your communities. Um, I was going to talk about AIGC, but it looks like I'm running out of time. But basically, this is just AI created content. It's closer than we think. Go ahead and screenshot this if you want to, look more into it. But I would say like video content probably in the next year, and then AI generated level editors 2 to 3 years away, probably. Not much. So some final thoughts. So obviously, surface good content. If you can, sort by new and upvoted by default. Let the downvotes push content off the front page. This alone will keep most unwanted content away from players. Try to use report flags for simple reasons like spam and hateful content, copyright infringement, etc. Things that you should be worried about from a legal standpoint. Generally, I would say minimum threshold for flags should be 10 or more before you have your mods take a look at what's going on. And if a piece of content is extremely popular and extremely loved, promote it across all your channels. Always iterate and always keep building your tools. Continue to improve your tools over time. Definitely loop your UGC into your live service cycle. Dedicate entire patches or even seasons to tool improvements. Players love seeing that kind of stuff. If you don't have the time or resources to make brand new game modes and content and whatnot, give them some new tools to play around with in UGC. Showcase new tools and features so your players know what to expect. Make like highlight reels and tutorials, definitely educational content. And hold contests with cute little rewards. You can just give out game keys, you can offer cosmetics, gift cards, merchandise, whatever you can afford. Contests are a great way to showcase your UGC tools for the community to showcase their UGC, and to just grow your community and everybody to have fun. Always educate. Teach your players how to use your tools. Have all kinds of educational content. We're talking guides, videos, live workshops. Your educational content should be free, but there are ways that you can charge for like more in-depth content or having certification programs, publishing ebooks, etc. And this is a great way to get potential players interested in learning the tools so they can take their knowledge and creations further and even get them interested in game development itself. And modding has traditionally and still has led to, successful jobs in the industry itself. So the big takeaway here is that UGC is its own reward. The ability to create custom content has been shown across 4 decades to extend the life shelf of a game. Just look at GTA 5. Just look at the recent invention of UEFN. Look at the success of Roblox. Like it's crystal clear. Level editors, photo modes, mod support, and a commitment to bolstering creative communities will keep new players coming in forever. And keep this cycle in mind. When you get a sale, you get new players. New players will make UGC. They will then promote their UGC, which in turn promotes your game, and you get more sales, and the cycle just continues. And that's it. So some cool things from me. Like I mentioned, our game just got an update last week, so you can go ahead and check that out. There's demo available. We just launched it off of Steam, so it's now on itch.io, Game Jolt, a Humble Game page, and bringing it to even more places pretty soon. And at this point, I am very happy to take questions.
All right. You did phenomenal.
Thank you.
Let's go ahead and get it like this. We do actually have some questions. I really did enjoy your talk.
Thank you so much.
I was like, I know all about this stuff. All right. So let's go ahead and kick off our first question. So from the Discord, we have a very small indie studio. What are some ways that we can motivate players to create UGC for our games?
That is a great question because I am in the same boat. The best way that I've found is probably contests. I know that prizes can end up being pretty expensive, but it can be worth it. Some other great things that you can do. We had a lot of fun about a year and some change ago, actually running a summer camp for our game and teaching the level editor to kids there, and then they basically like competed against each other on Twitch to win like some hats and stickers and such. So think outside the box a little bit, because every single bit of UGC is a promotional opportunity and is just going to help grow your game more and more. So like if you're building a level editor for it, definitely something like that. If you're building a photo mode for it, try to play to like social media trends, I would say. Make it more like TikTok friendly, get it to save not just JPEGs, but MP4s, basically, and in vertical, so that people can just instantly upload stuff that they made in your game. If it is just static images, then definitely find a way that like they can mix it up and style things in your photo mode so that they look just really cool, and make it as easily shareable as possible. Just keep the barrier to entry as low as you can, and more players will get in on it.
All right, let's go ahead and start the next one. From the Discord, how do I police the content so nothing offensive is done? I know we kind of touched base on this.
Yeah.
If we want to go a bit more in detail.
Yeah. So my advice generally there is to take the hands-off approach and say, look, if you're not breaking Steam's terms of service, or mod.io or CurseForge's terms of service, you're not breaking ours. Especially if you are strapped for cash and you can't really afford to pay your community managers to do that much personal moderation, I wouldn't worry so much about it. And then otherwise, let the community downvote stuff into oblivion. If it is particularly offensive and egregious, let the flags speak for themselves. And then when the threshold of flag reports have come in, then you can take care of it. But really, my advice is to just be as hands off as you can, but have clear policies in place for what you will and will not allow.
I've been looking at all the UGC for Baldur's Gate 3. Some of it is spicy, but I love it.
Well,
Absolutely
to be fair,
love it.
the game itself is pretty spicy.
It is. I said, I'm not going to do any romancing. I'm just going to go in. I'm going to play the game. That lasted like all of 5 minutes.
5
Then
minutes.
I was like, no, I want
there
everybody in my compound.
So, speedrunning is its own form of UGC, and I've seen romance speedruns in that game take about 4.5 minutes. I'm like, dang, if only I could be that good in real life.
I know, right? All right, let's move on to our next question, which is from the Discord. How do I plan on supporting third-party sites like Nexus Mods?
Nexus Mods in particular, if we're going to get specific, that's a really, really tricky one. I haven't had a whole lot of luck with finding how like you get your game added onto that site. Really, I feel like you have to have a very popular game first, and then they'll add it for you. If your game is added up there, then yeah, cool, good on you. Otherwise, you should probably be focused more on like mod.io, CurseForge, IndieDB. Basically anything from Debolical is, so IndieDB or ModDB, mod.io, they do great stuff with supporting the mod community. I would start there, and then just keep pointing your players in your community to those sites in particular. As your game gains popularity, other third-party sites will take notice of it and like will either get in touch with you to support it, or will just take it upon themselves to support your game.
All right, so we have another modder, but not another modder, another one from Discord. How can I find modders to work on my game?
Very, very good question. First of all, just have the tools available. Honestly, if you build it, they will come. It's really as simple as that. Um, if you have a good marketing plan in place and you're selling your game and you have the mod tools there and you have educational content on how to use your mod tools, available for free on your website and your YouTube channel. You're doing workshops on Twitch and Kick and TikTok, Facebook, wherever. Even Discord events, and you're just constantly showing off like what you can do uh, in your mod tools. Modders and creators will get interested in what's on offer and will start experimenting. Otherwise, it's pretty much on them to, sort of build these sub communities within your game, and you have to be ready to sort of have no control over that.
All right, our next question actually resonates really well with me because I'm a former partnered streamer and I've created so much UGC over the years. And I've
Mhm.
done, I know we talked about GTA earlier and during your session, I've done coding for 5M. I code ARC servers and we use so
Nice.
many mods. I'm
Oh,
sure my community that plays ARC with me is probably like, Ash, please stop adding mods. But I'm like, look at this cool new
look at
mod. Like, we have to use it. So let's go ahead and kick off this next question from the Discord. I'm a small content creator and I enjoy sharing mods and in-game images with my community. Do you have any simple tips on how I can be more helpful to game developers with my content?
Oh, I love this question. Basically, what I would say is if the game has a dedicated hashtag, always use that. Link back to store pages when you can. Link back to the mod pages whenever you show it off. So whether that's on Steam Workshop or wherever, copy the URL for that, paste it onto the screen in your stream or in the description or as a bot command in chat, and keep your community checking out what you're playing. Be very active about that. And then, heck, like even put together some highlight reels of some of your favorite mods, and share the links for those in the description as well. And just keep things rolling. It's not just the game developers that are relying on you, but also the modders, and the level editors and everybody else. The stuff that you're playing, they're relying on you for some popularity as well. They want to see downloads on their content as much as we want to see purchases on our games. So, just add the links, add the hashtags, shout them out, uh, give credit where credit is due, and just keep doing what you're doing.
Creating UGC can be so much fun. I remember back when it was the very last day of Destiny, my normal fire team and myself, we made this like super crazy video and put like a sad song behind it of us just like walking around being all depressed that the game was going away. And
Ah.
we spent hours working on it, but it was so much fun. And it was like one of those like last hurrahs for the game before we moved on to Destiny 2.
Mhm.
Let's go ahead and kick off our next question. This one is also from the Discord. Hey, Danny, thanks for the talk. Can you share some advice for folks who want to start learning how to make mods?
Oh, I am so glad this question came up. So my advice for if you want to learn how to make mods is learn how to make games. So if you just say learn a little bit of Godot, for instance, you will have a better understanding of some of the paradigms that are going to be present in mod kits. Um, and then, for the mod kits you want to learn specifically, there's tons of tutorials available, especially for more popular ones like Skyrim, GTA, Fortnite, even probably as recently as Baldur's Gate 3. There's lots of material out there to help you start learning. Also join the modding communities for those games and just be like, hey, I'm interested in getting getting started with this, but I don't really know where to, start getting my toes wet. Can somebody help me out? Is anybody working on a project that I can help out with? So, like, if you're an artist, share your portfolios. If you're a coder, mention the languages and somebody will help you get in on a team that's making some cool stuff.
I would love to learn how to mod. I know like basic things, but like that's about it. I don't think I have the time to really invest, but it would be such a cool thing. All right. So our next question is also from the Discord. Are newer platforms like Threads or Blue Sky worth posting on?
So I'm on Threads. I don't hate it, but the thing is, I can't really speak to the usefulness of like any social media platform post 2014, honestly. It's really just a matter of time, commitment, and money. Threads and I don't know about Blue Sky, but Threads in particular doesn't quite have the growth tools that other social media platforms do, because growth on Threads is pretty much dependent on how big you were on Instagram in the first place. So, time's going to tell with all of these, but it almost seems like, you want to be there to be ahead of the curve, but you don't want to lose sleep over it, is what I would say.
All right. Let's go ahead and kick off our next one. So it's another one that pertains to social media. These are really good social media questions.
These are some great questions, too.
Discord. Should I stick to Reddit for UGC content, or is TikTok better, or should I use both?
This is really tricky. So Reddit, if you self-promote on Reddit, you'll get banned. And I hate that rule, which is why I don't use Reddit for work. I would then probably say TikTok, or any short form video platform. YouTube more comes to mind. But really just anywhere you're comfortable posting content, go for it. You never know where something will go viral.
People go viral over like the smallest things, like a
The
video
smallest things.
yeah, somebody will put out a video and be like, this may get like 10 views. And then they wake up the next morning and they're literally viral.
Oh yeah. So there was a video platform a while ago called vid.me, and like the NFL did an ad with all these players dancing, and I remembered this quote from Bill Belichick, when players on the Patriots were dancing and the opposing team scored on them, and then he starts yelling at them for dancing before the game is over. So then I did like a record scratch, cut to the Belichick quote, uploaded it, wake up the next day, it has 150,000 views out of nowhere. It's the only time I've made something that's become that popular. And I'm like, wait, what the hell just happened? And I didn't make any money on it? No!
That's the worst. All right. We got one from YouTube. Marcel, does this apply to pixels or just 2D?
These rules apply to 2D and 3D, but what you can do in each space is going to be different, but really this is just limited only by your imagination.
We have, it's not so much a question, but a comment from Twitch. CheeseWiz93, I found that WeMod has quite the selection of indie titles.
I don't know WeMod. I will look into it. Thank you.
Feel free to, if you're in our Discord, feel free to post the link so we can all take a look at it. I want to see it.
Yeah.
All right. So our next question and our final is from RGB. How will the changes to Unity's fees affect UGC for indies? That's a really good question.
That's an amazing question. Oh my God, these are working my brain. The short answer is we don't know. And I'm doing my best to avoid the words "it depends" because I hear that too much in these talks. But In a way, kind of depends. So, like, if you make so because they just changed them as well again. So I would probably say, like, if you make them in Unity free, you're safer. And then to stay extra safe, so you don't like make too much money and they force you to upgrade at some point. Then just like let your creators keep all the money and then let Unity panic over it because screw them. If you're in Pro or Enterprise, it's a different matter altogether. As you're going to be paying Unity anyway.
Oh, Unity. Well, Danny, I want to thank you so very much for your talk today. I loved
Thank
it.
you.
I'm sure the community loved it. It was an honor
And
to
I'm
have you.
glad we didn't go over.
No, we did great. High five for both of us. So we're going to go ahead and end this and get ready for our next talk, which is, I should have had this ready. Who do we have next? I may be able to find it if the website wants to do stuff for me. Whoop. I don't know. We have somebody. Nothing wants to load. There we go. All right. Who is next? Next, we have Kim and David from Sweet Baby, and they're going to be talking about Baby on Board, the Sweet Baby Inc. story. So tune in for that. Thank you again. I'll see you guys later.
Thank you. It's been great. Bye, everybody.